Hey, this is Gene. It's Monday, the 22nd of May. Um, Manchester City has won the Premiership again. Uh, as what Gary Neville said, Arsenal kind of like didn't play well at the end of the season. I'm not going to say they bottled it. No one actually thought they were going to finish the top two. Most people didn't have them in the top four. It's been a good season for them. They played a lot of great football. But when it came to the end, when they had the ability to win games at home, especially being up 2-0, a couple of those games, end up losing or drawing those games, uh, you could see the pressure start to get to them. And it's one of those things when we're a young team that kind of happens. It happens even to teams that are very that are older or have more veterans on their teams. Um, but we're going to see a lot of things, and we're already starting to see it in the media overseas that comparing Manchester City to the treble team from Manchester United from 1999. I think that it's a kind of foolish. I don't. I think that, of course, I'm biased. I mean, I'm a fan for Manchester United. Uh, I was around. I was uh, at a formative age in 1999. I was 34. So I've seen a lot of football in my life. Um, I'm not really sure that that was the best Manchester United team, and I do not think that this Manchester City team is their best either. The one difference is that they have an all-time great scorer up front, but there's somebody that can get marked out of games, and you know we're going to have to play them in the FA Cup final. I like our chances. The only issue I have is that when we have our opportunities, they may be few um, in the game, three or four times maybe that we have a chance to score. We have to actually score. Um, Not sure that we can come back if they score first on us, even though we did it at home and beat them. Um, so I'm just going to go and I'm trying as unbiased as I possibly can because I do, other than the fact that Manchester City has all these issues with the allegations and all that stuff and how they got to where they are and they might do all this, they might get in trouble, and they might lose it all. So um, I like how they play. Um, I don't think that their coach Pep Guardiola has changed the game that much as everybody tries to give him this sort of monitor. I think that he has a certain side of play that he plays. He gets the right players, and they do well with it. And I think that the league, other than Liverpool, has been kind of crap for the last 5 or 6 years, and so they've dominated. Uh, this Manchester United team, Manchester United has been a shell of a team that was even 10 years ago. Even the last Premiership title we got, we weren't that good comparatively to like the teams of 2008 and 2011 or the '99 team. So you're going to see it already, and they're trying to anoint this Manchester United team or Manchester City team as the greatest ever. I think that's kind of foolhardy, and I'm going to tell you why. I think man to man, I think we were deeper. I think that at the top level we had the better players, um, and we had something that City can't deal with, and that's pace. I don't think they could have dealt with uh, Giggs going over the top or Cole or York because City likes to go plays a high line, and I just think that we'd have just killed them on that side. Now the issue that we had is that our defense was not that great. We gave up the ball quite a bit. We were looking to have a counterattack or um, let's say this: we still had a lot of possession of the ball, but we played an open type of game, and that later on that kind of like destroyed us later in Europe, especially against Madrid the next year. We played that same type of game, and we got beat by a great player, and couldn't defend our crown, let's say. So, and Ferguson figured that out, and that's why he changed his style, and that's how he won in 2008. And had a chance to defend it, couldn't do it. We lost to a great Barcelona team. But the thing is that those teams 15 years ago, 12 years ago, are so much better than the one we have right now as for Manchester United, and they clearly could have competed with this City team. We had strong characters. We had four great strikers. We were very, very deep. And the one thing I would say about this city is this Manchester City team is that their second team probably could finish the top four as well. So it would be interesting. Um, I don't want to take anything away from them. They haven't won the treble yet. They have to play Inter, and I think the Serie A has been almost defamed this year. I think all of them are in. There are three Italian teams in all the European finals. So I think that we've looked at the Serie A and said it's not a good league. I think, especially when we talk about one game, they have to play in Turkey. It's not like they're going to have like the support there. I would not be shocked if that game is close, and I really think that the FA Cup final will also be close. Um, our, again, I could make the case um, that I don't really want to make the. I know in my mind that the '99 team is better than the City team. I think that if they played each other 10 times, I think that United probably wins seven, and City might win two. Um, I just don't sure. I'm not 100% sure that Holland would destroy Stam. I don't think he would. I think that there's similar players. I think that he would be able to deal with him. Um, I mean, Luke Shaw dealt with Holland. I just I think that in a lot of sports, people say that it's progressed. It's the teams now are clearly better than teams that were 20 years ago. I'm not sure that's the same when it comes to football or soccer. Um, if you go back in the '70s, that's different. But when you're talking about teams that played in the 1990s, I think that the Arsenal team in the late '90s would be would be hell. Chelsea early in the '90s, or ladies in the '90s and the 2000s would just be very difficult to beat. Um, so we have not evolved so much in the game, other than the fact we see more Africans um, playing in the Premiership, and I'm not sure that's a good or bad thing. When I look at, and I don't want to be racial at this, but when you look at that '99 team, it was a lot of people that were based in the UK. So when they win, and it's like, it was good. It showed that the Premiership would have a team that could win at the highest level. And for most of the players were somewhat British, let's say. Not all of them, but most of them were. That team that started that day. I mean, or I would say that like Schmeichel obviously is not British, but he was like right across the water away from it. It wasn't. These are teams that I'm not gonna say they're native or whatever, or was more white or whatever. But the issue is the game has changed so much from trying to get more speed on the ground, and not necessarily it's not a better game. It's like the NBA in the United States. Just because everybody hoists up 3 pointers doesn't make it a better game. It's not. In fact, it's almost unwatchable watching the NBA now. When a 98 or a 38-year-old dude who clearly is on some sort of PEDs still thinks he could dominate the league, and he's shooting. It's just horrible to watch. Watching a great goal where there's 5 or 10 passes and people are moving along the way, and you go around and take your triangles and you get in and you make a shot on goal and it goes in. And the same thing with basketball, you pass it around and there's a pick and somebody gets open. That's all beautiful to watch. When you're running down the field or on the basketball court, and you just up there and 40 feet out, and the ball goes in. Okay, it's like it's. I mean, I'm older, so it's not. I guess that's what it is, generational. But anyway, so you're going to see it in the media. They're going to be talking about how great this City team is. If they just destroy us in the FA Cup final and they beat Inter, they're going to claim they're the greatest of all time. And my thing is like this: United did it first. We had we had to deal with the fact that Arsenal was almost as good as us, and they pushed us the entire time. Um, Clearly, they were probably the best, second best team probably in Europe that year. Um, they had won the league before the year before. They beat us at Old Trafford. That was a really, really, really good team. Um, you're gonna get this recency bias, where the recency bias you're gonna hear, and there are a lot of people in the media that they don't want Manchester United to have that moniker, having be the only team that get the trouble. I mean, in the '70s, we stopped Liverpool from doing. In the FA Cup final, we beat them, and we'll have to do the same thing against City. And the question is, can we do it? Of course we can. We've beaten City many times in the past with teams that were clearly inferior to them. Although I think some of those teams under Mourinho clearly had the same amount of talent. Um, we just couldn't do it at the same level as long to get to the same point, point, point total. I look at this as well when it comes from a City side of time. It's kind of like we had to deal with Juventus. Juventus would always be the boogeyman for us to get past, to get to win a European Championship or a cup, and they were just one of those teams that were so stopping us. And I think that the same thing's happening with City. City has to go through all this, and then eventually they're going to get the reward like we did in '99, because there were a couple times between '94 to '98 that I think we were clearly the best team in Europe, and either it was suspensions or just the fact that we had 100 shots on a goal against Dortmund and couldn't get anything in. Cantona misses the ball right in front of the goal. And so we can't get to the final there. There were several instances where this happened. We were clearly the best team on the pitch against Porto. We played a great game, couldn't score enough. They get a goal at the end, and they go and actually win the championship, and that started the basically the greatest coaches ever, like Mourinho and Ferguson. Mourinho always has it over Ferguson. So, yeah, I hate to go back, and everybody does this, especially when they're older like me, and you go back and say, "Well, it was so much better back then." Well, I thought it was. And I think it's clearly better. This Premiership season is just basically petered out. We thought they were going to get to the last day and have maybe a chance for a different person at the end to win. Still, everybody still thought that City was going to win once they beat Arsenal at home. But as far as relegation, that's almost somewhat done. The fight for the top four is pretty much done. All United and Newcastle has to get is one more point, and they're in. So it's like it's petered out at the end for what was a pretty good season, I guess. And seeing teams that are not that good or don't have the financial backing that played really well, like Brighton, especially. A team that plays a really good brand of football. And you can see that shows you don't have to have, you have to go in this little, everybody runs a 4-4 40 or has to have certain things or jumps really high or something like that. You can have, if you play a decent team type of a time style, you could definitely win. And Brighton, definitely, I don't. When you get down to the end, I mean, obviously at the end of the year, the points get you where you get, and you deserve where you're going to be. Oh, why is that on? Well, okay. I'll let that go on. My sprinklers came on. So anyway, so I'm rambling here because like I said, I think it'll be a great accomplishment for them, regardless of the fact that they're going to be dealing with their allegations. the 115 allegations of impropriety with their financial stuff. So it's very possible that they do this. They're favored clearly in their last two games when it comes to cup competitions. They're not just favored; they were heavily favored. Uh, Even though it's going to be a Manchester derby in the FA Cup final, it's going to be 50-50 as far as the fans. Actually, there could probably still be more Manchester United fans there. Um, so I personally, I think we have a chance. I really do. Uh, if City normally does what they do, and they have a high line, we're going to have an ability to get behind them. And it's just whether or not our defense can hold out like we did at home. They really only had one good. I mean, they got the goal. I mean, we played pretty well in that game. So, so we'll see. You know, we'll know here in the next couple of weeks whether or not they actually have, if they can actually complete the treble. Um, but it's one of those things because I see it now because they're like, so well, this guy would start. And I'm like, I'm trying to think anybody on Manchester United or Manchester City that would get in the 99 team. And you got to remember, most people do know this. If you know about that, Keane and Scholes are two of our best players. Didn't play in the final, and we had injuries. Um, and we had guys that were playing basically out of position against Bayern Munich in the final, and Bayern Munich played really well, probably outplayed us over the 90 minutes, but that team would not quit, and that's what we miss as far as the Manchester United. Our team would never quit, and we've had some issues recently with our team with just putting their head down, and we just hope that we'll play well. But anyway, just let me know what you think. I mean, I think really, other than maybe Holland, and I'm not really sure Holland. When you think we had the type of team that we had with York and Cole, and how they linked so well together, and we had and Holland's fast, okay, but I just don't know. I mean, obviously, I think that probably because obviously Ferguson was looking for Shearer, and they wanted Shearer to come to us. So I would have said I'm sure he would have been a similar type of player, but I don't know. I mean, we also had Ole and Sherryman on the bench. I mean, we were so deep. So, and I don't know that Scholes didn't play in the final, but I don't think that De Bruyne is better than Scholes. They're different type of players. They're both midfielders, but they're different type of players. I don't think they can. I don't. Mahrez. Maybe their back four Stones might be in, but we've got Stam, and we had 3 or 4 different type of fullbacks that had to play. You know, Berg and Janssen. I don't think that he's better than those guys. Maybe overall, but he made a lot of bad areas. But we had a lot of left. If I just say that maybe 2 of their back 4 might be in there, I don't put their keeper ahead of Schmeichel. Schmeichel is probably the greatest ever in the Premiership era. As good as he is, Alisson is. Is it Alisson? I think. I always get the one for Liverpool and Manchester City. I think they're the same player. I think that they changed. They look exactly the same to me. I think Schmeichel's better. So, I mean, I think Schmeichel would be obviously the goalkeeper if you're going to combine the teams. I think Neville's in there. Is Irwin better than? I'm trying to find, and I know I'm biased. I just don't think, other than De Bruyne and Holland, I don't think that nobody else on that team starts. Grealish is not better than Giggs. I mean, give me a fucking break. Beckham is the greatest moving the ball player probably in the history of the Premiership. There's no way. Could you? But the thing is, if you had Holland there, and you had Beckham there, Beckham would probably have maybe 30 assists, and Holland might have I just when you talk about and I like De Bruyne, and the thing with De Bruyne is he hasn't done anything other than he's won ch- premierships and he's won a lot of other cups, but as far as at the international stage, he hasn't done really what he needed to do with Belgium, and he hadn't played that great when they got the chance to win the Champions League. So if he finally gets to that point where he does that, then that's great. Then we can say he's up there. He's going to have all these medals, but it, I mean, Beckham had to play in central midfield in the final in '99 when he really was a kind of a winger type of thing when we played a 4-4-2. And people say, no, the 4-4-2 couldn't work today. And I'm like, that's all bullshit. You have the right players, it would fucking work. I can imagine Keane. It depends, how we referee. It's kind of like in the NBA. It's how you would referee from 1999 to now. You can't touch anybody now. They go down and not that people weren't flopping back then too, but it was totally different. So guys like King, could he actually be able to play now? But clearly, generational talents like Scholes, Beckham, Giggs, clearly would be over any team, any player that's on City. They just, other than De Bruyne, Gugawan, no, there's nobody. I don't want to make it. I don't want to go there and say from man to man that we're better. Maybe on a team level they're at the same level as us, but I don't think they are. I think the game has changed so much. I think that we played at a certain time that there were three or four super teams in Europe, and the Premiership was becoming to that point where it became the best league in the league, or best league in the world. Um, I just don't. I think that, and again, I know I'm biased, but this we think because this new team is going to be the best of all time. There's, I'll put it this way: we had to get to the final in 2008. We had to beat Barcelona. It was really when Messi was kind of young at that point, and it was everybody says that they dominated us at Old Trafford. We had many chances to win that to score in that game after Scholes scored, but that Barcelona team from like that time to 2011, 13 would have destroyed this City team. But no question they would have. They beat us twice when we had probably the best, deepest team we ever had. And I just, I just this idea that now this city makes them the greatest of all time. And of course, a lot of Liverpool teams are saying they're coming out now saying, well, they're not have as many points as us, and they say we only had 78, I think, when we won in '99. I'm like, the league was kind of he was trying to win the European Championship, so he had to make sure that he had his players available. We had a lot of injuries that year, but we had the ability to come back and win when we had to win. We didn't lose after the new year. We didn't for the I think 33 games we didn't lose, and we draw a lot of games. It almost lost us the league because we draw too many of it, and we did that in Europe as well. I think overall maybe, and this is a maybe, that their defense is better. But the issue is that we allowed teams to have the ball, whereas City doesn't do that. They hold on to the ball. We allowed teams to have the job or keep the ball open or have the game more open. They don't do that. They press differently than we did. And to think that those players couldn't have now changed their game in a new style and not be able to compete against this City team, I guess that's the thing that I really have an issue with. I think that's all bullshit. I think any of those players could have played City top play, City ball, and would have been excellent in it. And I think that people forget how good that team was and how good we were the next years after that. Of course, we didn't win another European championship, but we won our three. We would that. We were the first to got three in a row, and then we did it twice. And now that City's doing it, it's like, It's new, and the people that have these arguments with us clearly, and like Mark Goldbridge said this on his show United Stand, and also on Talk Sports. These are guys that are like 20 years old, and they're saying that this Manchester United team from 1999 couldn't have competed with this City team. These people weren't even alive. Watch them. Look how fast fucking Giggs was. He would have destroyed most teams, most the back lines. I mean, and now because you touch somebody, you get a yellow. He would have had talk about Grealish now because Grealish is not that fast. Would you imagine if Giggs now was playing when he was 17, 18, 20? He would have so many people getting yellow cards and being kicked out of the team. It's not even close. People forget how great he was on the ball. Anyway, nobody wants to talk about it anymore because he gets in trouble with what he did with his dick. But anyway, again, like I said before, there's some bias on my side. There is. I don't personally. They could win the treble, and I said about the '99 team. I'm not sure that was the best team we ever had, but we had the ability at the end that we had to get the goal. We get it. So you have to give them the props for that, and they actually did it. They played one of the greatest clubs in history, in Bayern Munich, in the final, beat them. Newcastle in the FA Cup final, not so much. However, the semifinal against Arsenal, probably the other best team in Europe that year, we beat them. Excuse me. And to get to the finals, we had to beat Juventus and Inter, and it's just our group of death. We almost didn't get out of that. Anyway, let me know what you think. I know I've been rambling way too long, and we can talk about it in the comments. And I will give their congratulations if they do it. I'm hoping that we're going to beat them this weekend, or 2 weeks from now, in the FA Cup final. To stop them from doing it, just like we did against Liverpool in the '70s. We can do it. We have the team to do it. It's 11 against 11. I don't I think it's going to be a really close game. And Chelsea, they beat Chelsea yesterday 1-0. Of course, it was their second team, but still, there are times that City don't score a lot of goals. So, anyway, I'm just rambling. Just let me know in the comments, and we'll talk about it there. You guys have a good day and a good week, and I'll talk to you later. And hopefully, we'll either get a draw or get a win against Chelsea, and finally secure the top four. You guys talk to you later. Bye.